that I could do almost anything I put my mind to if I'm trained properly for it, and always look at the positive side. When we started Paul Mitchell in 1980, we only had $700. Almost nothing is impossible. Almost nothing is impossible. If you put your heart into it and you don't give up, you keep a focus on something and you just go straight for it. The difference between successful people in your personal life or in your business life is this.
Some people wait for opportunity. Others fight for it. Welcome to Tactical Wealth, the show where discipline, service, and real-world experience become pathways to financial power. I'm your host, Kaj Larson. On each episode, we bring you the stories and the wisdom of those who have gone from boots on the ground to successful careers, from military to wealth, and how they've done it so you can apply those insights to your own mission and your own life. This is Tactical Wealth, from military to money. Welcome back to another episode of Tactical Wealth. Today's guest is an icon of American entrepreneurship. He's created two ginormous companies that you have definitely heard of, Paul Mitchell and Patrón Tequila, among a various number of other enterprises, including some incredible philanthropic initiatives like the Peace, Love, and Happiness Foundation. He's a very, very well-known American philanthropist and billionaire, but what is lesser known is that he is actually also a Navy veteran. And he went from being almost homeless, living in his van with $700 in his pocket, to building these gigantic, incredible companies. And today we're here to talk to my friend and mentor, John Paul DeJoria. Welcome to Tactical Wealth.
Oh gosh, real pleasure, buddy. Real pleasure.
It's wonderful to see you. I'm so excited to have you on the program. You know, there are people, they say never meet your heroes, never meet your mentors. It's almost always true, but it is definitely not true. You have always been a hero and a mentor to me. And I think part of the reason is because you really attack the way you engage with life from an entirely different perspective than many people. It's a dog-eat-dog world. There's all these sharks out there, but you've chosen to take in a different path. And you are one of the few people who's actually changed the way I engage with the world.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So where did this all start, JP? Like where did it all begin?
I think it all began kind of the way I was born and brought into the United States. My mother was coming over on the boat. She was an immigrant from Europe, and deadbeat dad, 2 years old, he disappeared, right? But my mom raised my brother and I, and we didn't have anything. We lived in a little dinky place in Echo Park, really, really dinky. We didn't have a TV. Now, this is the late 40s, early 50s. Now I'm 6 years old, okay? And while we were doing that, we didn't know anything other than love. Now, where we grew up was a whole different time. We didn't have a refrigerator. We had an ice box where the iceman would come by for 25 cents a week, give you a big block of ice. You'd put it in there, keep you cool, right? The vegetable man would blow his horn coming down the street. There were no supermarkets, okay? There was a rag man because, paper towels weren't invented yet. So I think for a penny, you got 2 rags. And then if you turn it back in again, they gave you 1 for it. So the guy could make a living. It's a very interesting times, but we loved to work. We just loved to work. If you had a job doing anything, it was great. Well, I would say with a lot of love and a lot of enthusiasm, because of that love growing up, even though there was no father there, we were able to do various things. I know my first, shall we say, entrepreneur job, I was 7 years old at the Variety Boys Club, and my brother and I, to see what would happen, built a flower box. Big brown flower box, right? Flat bottom with hooks. You could hang it up if you wanted to. And we did it for 25 cents worth of wood on credit at the Varieties Boys Club in East LA. Went out and sold it for 50 cents. Came back, paid our quarter.
Those are great margins.
I know. Paid our quarter, right? And then put it in the other quarter for another one and sold it. Now, in those days, soda pop was like 5 cents a bottle and candy was just a couple pennies. Well, right around that time the year before, my mom took my brother and I to to downtown LA. It was a big deal at Christmas time. You take the trolley car down there, and the windows, there were puppet shows going on, little trains going around in a circle. It was really, really cool. And my mother gave my brother and I a dime and said, boys, with your little fingers, you each hold on to this, and walk over to that man with the red bucket ringing the bell and put it in there, which we did. Went back and said, Mom, why do we give that guy a dime? That's 2 soda pops, 3 candy bars. Why? She said, boys, that's the Salvation Army. There are people in this world that don't have a place to stay or food to eat and no mommy to watch out for them there, right? So they said, boys, they need it. Always remember in life, there's always somebody that needs it more than you do. This year, we could only afford a dime, but we're putting something in there. And I'm also volunteering a little bit of time. Always give back and make the world a better place to live. And that stayed in my mind forever. So the fact that you could do something as an entrepreneur starting as a young age, and I've worked my whole life. At 11 years old, my brother and I had paper routes with the LA Examiner in the morning. Before that, we were in foster care for a few years, but got to see Mom on the weekends. So we were the lucky kids in foster care. So we really saw different sides of life growing up and really started appreciating nice things. For example, the paper route. My brother and I made about $30 a month, gave it to Mom, and it changed our way of living totally just for that little bit of money. In high school, after school, I always had a job doing something along the way. Left it, went into the military. As soon as I graduated from high school, I was 17. I was in the reserves because they took you at that time in the reserves. Went straight into active duty, and boy, did I see the world. I was on an aircraft carrier, a couple of Westpac cruises, and I was there for a few years just seeing the world and had a blast, but also learned a lot that could help me in my future life. And I'm sure you'll probably get that into some of your questions when it comes up.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Let me say,
tell us about your Navy experience. What was the name of the aircraft carrier there?
USS Hornet, CVS
Hornet.
12. Yeah, we made a couple of Westpac cruises on it, and what a great experience. You know, we go to Hawaii, Hong Kong, all over Japan, the Philippines. It was a great experience. In fact, but I was into it for about a year or two, and Kennedy was assassinated. We were in Yokosuka, Japan, canceled all liberty, brought everybody back on the board immediately, and immediately left for it, headed for Russia. And they said, gentlemen, the President of the United States has just been assassinated. It's the perfect time for an aggressor to attack. We don't know all the details yet, but we're heading for Russia. I thought, oh my gosh, World War III is breaking out or something. You know, what is going on here? But we learned quite a bit while I was in the Navy. I got out after several years, had a couple of years of inactive standby duty I still had to do, and for whatever reasons, I'm a Vietnam vet. They never recalled me. I thought for sure they'd recall you, but I guess they didn't. Anyway, so I got a whole bunch of different jobs along the way, but one thing I'd like to share with you right now, I received about a decade ago the Lone Sailor Award in Washington, D.C. All the admirals, all those folks were up there, and they said, JP, could you please share something with everyone that's here about, what you can do in the military that really helps you out in civilian life, look how far you've gone. I said, yes, there's a real big one. I went in the Navy as a high school graduate. I was just a normal, common person. So they took people like me, normal, common, nothing special, but taught us how to work together as a team and respect your elders, whether they're senior in your age or senior in your rank, right? Respect what they're saying because they probably know more than you do. But they took us and they taught us how to individually, with little to no talent, work together as a team and achieve extraordinary results. And I never forgot that I went into the business world afterwards.
Yeah, I always thought about that. I was imagining you as a young man on the USS Hornet, an aircraft carrier. Here you have thousands of people, some with very low marginal skills, but all having to come together, live together in a tight environment. Did it teach you something about operating like a team at scale that you would later implement?
Oh, it sure did. And not only that, it taught you the ability of what you could learn if people teach you properly. An example, I'm a high school graduate, right? Okay. And not a straight A student, maybe a B- student, okay, on a good year. But I was operating 2 gyros. There's a gyro in front of an aircraft carrier, Lisa, when I was on, and one behind it. So sometimes I'd be operating that gyro, charting it and everything else, and then other times is around back holding duty there on a gyro. That's a big, giant gyro. You chart every 10 minutes your location, where it's at. You understand the whole thing inside and out. And what an experience, which showed me also that I could do almost anything I put my mind to if I'm trained properly for it, and always look at the positive side.
Yeah. And what I also say, one of the other sort of intangible skills, psychological benefits that you get from the military is being imbued with like an extraordinary sense of responsibility at a very young age, probably before you're prepared for it.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I know, God, some years ago when I was brought down to Coronado, the Navy SEAL training camp down there.
Yeah, I know it all too well.
Of course you do. And they asked me to spend a couple of hours, with those that are getting close to getting out or thinking about it, within the last 6 months, whatever, how to adjust, but more important, how to take your military schools, especially with those, in special ops or people with Navy, actually anyone in operation, okay, anyone that's in the military, any branch of the military, how to take those skills and put it on a resume so when you go to civilian life, it means something other than, well, I was in the military. And that's what I did. I shared various things in leadership, having a team together, work together, have your certain hours, show up on time, get the necessary things that are valuable, and so forth and so forth. And it worked out really good. I got a few letters afterwards from quite a few people that got it and said, JP, some of this stuff really, really works. And it's cool.
That's amazing. But it doesn't mean that it's always going to be easy, right?
No,
even if
not
and
easy.
It wasn't easy for you when you transitioned out.
Absolutely not.
Tell me about your transition.
You bet. In my transition to civilian life, I didn't know quite what I wanted to do. So as soon as I got out, I had a variety of jobs, driving a tow truck, because I like to drive, right? Worked for an insurance company for a little while, medical linen for a while, a variety of things. But then the most exciting job I ever got, to me at the time, was selling, believe it or not, encyclopedias, not Britannica or World Book, but Collier's Encyclopedia, unheard of at the time, right? Door-to-door sales, no commission, no salary, no leads, commission only.
Just straight eat what you kill.
You got it. But they said something. The average lifespan, by the way, was 3.5 days in the field of an encyclopedia salesman. You're 5 days, no money. They train you word for word what to say, go knocking on doors. But they said something which quite interesting. They said, knock on 50 doors if you had to, and if they're close in your face, either politely or non-politely, be just as enthusiastic on door number 51. It's kind of like when you're in the military, there's a job to do, whether it's, sweeping the floors or getting your buffers out there and something isn't working. Figure out another way to do it to get it done. So it's a matter of be enthusiastic about what you're doing and continue. Well, for me, it wasn't 50 doors to be just as enthusiastic on door number 51. It was door 100 and something. That's why the average encyclopedia salesman college lasted 3 days. Commission only. But I believe what they said, where I focused in and kept on going, no matter what obstacles were in my way, no matter what. And first year I actually made, and this is my first full year was 64 to 65, middle year, I made $12,000. That is a lot of money in the 60s. I thought whoa, I'm on top of the world here. Well, I lasted about 3.5 years, and it was, it's time to move on to something else.
So you 100x to the average
Exactly.
lifespan.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
incredible.
definitely, yeah.
But it was something about the relentlessness of that position that gave you drive for your next endeavor.
That's for sure. Because 2 things you learn there. 1, overcome rejection. I tell people this all the time. There's 2 major things to do in your life and to remember at all times to be successful in your personal life, your military life, or your civilian life. 1 is be prepared for rejection. You're going to get it. If the sergeant said this, or the captain said this, whatever, and you're upset about it, okay, be prepared for rejection, because if you're prepared for it, it's not going to affect you. Many times you'll tell somebody something that, no, this is not right. You should be doing it this way instead. And oh my God, they rejected me. I did this wrong, and it affects you. But if in life you know that you're going to get rejection, and you're prepared for it, it doesn't affect you that much. You don't give up. The second thing was, and this is a real good thing for our country, military-wise, otherwise everything, is have the best product available. Do not go into the selling business. Go into the reorder business. So that what you have is so good, they want to order again, or if it's a service, they want you back again because the quality is that high.
Right. And if we were being business analytical about it, it's that initial cost of customer acquisition that's the most difficult, but it's much easier to get the second and the third iteration of it.
It sure is. When I started Paul Mitchell, our backer pulled out. We had $700, $350 from mine, $350 from a deal pal of mine, a partner of mine, to start the company. But we were able to start a cosmetic company that we needed $500,000, but the backer pulled out. This is 1980, okay? Worst time in the world. Here's something good for everybody to know today. Can you still do things like that today? When we started Paul Mitchell in 1980, we only had $700. The cosmetic business is a big business, okay? A lot of big players against. No advertising money, no nothing. We had to figure out a way to make our product, but not pay for it in 30 days. We had to figure out a way to get money from our distributors who don't pay for 45 days immediately. And
you got a cash flow problem.
But immediately. And no one ever did in the beauty industry before. And give them an extra incentive to take you on when you have nothing. By the way, it's all in my new book, Success, Unshared is Failure, that's coming out real soon, okay?
Amazing.
How we did it. But we learned how to do that. So when you do that, it's like almost nothing is impossible. Almost nothing is impossible. If you put your heart into it and you don't give up, you keep a focus on something and you just go straight for it. People ask me, and I'll just answer this for you and ask the question, and I'll answer because I think everyone would love to hear this. Can you still do it today, okay? Of course you can. When we started Paul Mitchell, inflation, 12.5%, unemployment, 10.5%, interest rates, if you could get a loan, and we couldn't, 17% minimum pride, and we stayed in line to get gasoline. Worst time in the world. But how you could do it even during the worst times, today's nowhere close. How do we get an office for $16 a year? There was only two of us. How do we get a free secretary? I mean, all this stuff we had to learn, which was very beneficial in later years because, 9 years later, I started Patrón and knew nothing about the liquor business other than, man, we ended up with finding the smoothest tequila in the world. But a lot of the things I learned all along the way contributed to that. So something I'd like to share with everybody out there in your audience is this. You're going to get rejection. You're also going to find things that have to improve upon all the time. But the difference between successful people in your personal life or in your business life is this. Successful people and military do all the things unsuccessful people don't want to do. So many people tiptoe through life to make it safely to death. I'll just do enough, and I'll tiptoe. I won't upset anybody along the way. I won't be controversial. And then you make it to death, and you wasted half of your life. We're here on this planet to learn. That's what we're here for. We come, we learn, we leave the body, and whatever we go on will be up to everyone's own personal belief.
Yeah, that is so wild. So I also believe that we learn as much from our scar tissue as we do from any success that we have.
Or more so.
I imagine, or more so, exactly. I imagine either with Paul Mitchell or when you started Patrón down the line after that, there must have been some incredible setbacks. Like, is there one that sticks out in particular?
Yeah, I'll give you one with Paul Mitchell, and I'll give you one with Patrón. I'll give you one with Paul Mitchell.
We'll follow with a little tequila. Perfect.
No money, no nothing. Impossible to get a distributor, okay? Impossible. Like, where are we going to go now? We have no money. Money is due on these first products that are due here. We need a distributor. Nobody wants to take us on as a distributor. So how did I end up finally? I mean, there was a real big disappointment. I drove up Ventura Boulevard in L.A., okay? And that's in the San Fernando Valley. I went knocking door to door like I did with encyclopedias, salon to salon to salon. And I think I'm a pretty good salesperson. We only had 3 products, but I went ahead and got 12 orders. Took me a week and a half. Today I could do it in a day. A week and a half. Because, why do we want you? No publicity, no advertising, no nobody. Why do we want you? But what we use for a presentation, I won't take up your room right now or your time. It's in the book, okay? But anyways, so I went around and got 12 of them, right? And I sold them anywhere from, I think, around $30 to $125 orders. But I left the top line blank. Then I went to the biggest distributor in LA called Paris Ace Beauty Supply. Gave my little song and dance, my little 3 products, how to present them. He said, JP, what a great presenter. But come on, we're Paris Ace Beauty Supply. We are the largest in there's none larger in Southern California. And why would I want to take on your line? You have no people, no advertising, no nothing, just 3 products and a new name. JP, love you're a nice man, but why would I do that? Okay. So what I do is say, well, I give you one more good reason. And out of my pocket, I put 12 checks right in front of me, scattered them out like that, like a fan. I said, because that's your first 12 orders. I've already sold them for you. I made your delivery. Those checks are yours. He laughed his head off. His name was Jim Henrietta. He says, okay, I will order. I said, well, can you order $2,000 worth? Like we were really hard up, gosh, we didn't have any money. And he goes, well, okay, but you got to show up here every day until it's all sold. I said, great. He goes, okay, we'll give it a shot. I said, well, there's one more thing. I said, is it possible, because we're new starting out, that when I deliver the products, you can give me a check for $2,000? He laughed his head off, and he came to our 25th anniversary. We're 45 years old now. He came to that anniversary. He says, so JP says to me, look, if you will give me the check we really, really needed, I'll give you an additional 5% off immediately. He says, I laughed my head off. I said, okay, I'll do it, but you better show up again. We're Paris Ace. We pay our bill in 45 days. I'll do you this one favor again, but man, you better be here. I said, I will be here. I promise. I promise. So as he told everybody, he said, then JP went out the door. He said, in less than 5 minutes, my warehouse man called me and said, there's some guy here wanting a $2,000 check, and he's unloading boxes on our platform here. And he laughed. He said that was the start. That was the start.
This is crazy. I mean, one of the things I've always been curious, one of your superpowers is the power of belief. Like you have incredible courage. You have courage to look at the world in the way that not as it is, but as it could be.
Exactly.
And I think that's extraordinary. How do you balance that with the sort of pragmatism of the, 49 no's or the 50 no's that you get?
Well, a good way to do it on the balancing is to give you the second half of answer your question about, shall we say, challenges we ran across. Patrón. When we finally made Patrón and how we made it and how we even found the recipe, I'll go through that.
Also
it's in the book. Read it in the book, okay? But anyways, here's the big thing.
You can't give away all the trade secrets.
No. We've got the greatest tequila in the world, right? That the world's ever seen, the smoothest, first ultra-premium tequila ever to enter the United States, okay? And it was even smoother than was made in Mexico because we found Francisco Alcaraz down there that can make it smoother. So we had it, but it had to be sold for $37.95 a bottle in 1989. The average tequila sold for around $5. I think the most expensive one was $14. This is a good lesson to learn. Nobody, Kaj, would take it. Nobody. They said, God, it's great, but no one's going to pay $30. I mean, they're not going to pay that. So we finally went to a wine distributor. All they distributed was wine and talked him into taking it. But we said, look, if you'll take it, we'll get you to Spago's restaurant, which was the #1 restaurant. And then Martin, my partner, said, we'll get you in Marina Del Rey's restaurant down there, the biggest one, Marina Del Rey. They said, well, if you could do that, we'll give you a shot. After 1 year, they only sold about 1,000 cases. That was it. So we knew we could do better than that. So we said, okay, we need somebody really big. So we had some distribution. We went to a biggie like Jim Beam. They're really big. So one more layer. They took it and got a percentage, took it to their distributors, who took it to their salespeople for big distributors, and then, of course, to the end result there, the biggie. After about a year and a half, almost 2 years, they were only buying from us about 12,000 cases a year, 12 cases of 12. So we had a meeting with them. Nicest people in the world you could ever be. They said, boys, we really like you, but let's be honest with you, okay? You have the best tequila ever made, but you'll never do more than 20,000 cases a year because it's just too expensive. We're sorry. So we dropped them. Then we went with Seagram's, has another big distributor. They, after several years, got it up to 70,000 cases finally, right? We knew we could do a lot better because now we knew, hey, we could do more than 50,000. We could do really good. So we just knew it was out there. The carrot was dangling. We just didn't know how big, but it was dangling there. So we went to court and bought Seagram's out of their agreement with them, just bought them out in court. You paid for it, right?
Even though you were probably making a reasonable profit at this point.
all plus we owe you and got a loan just to buy them out of it because we believed in ourselves and where it could go. We really believed in this, okay? Well, here's the end game. If experts tell you that what you have is great, but you'll only get so big or it's too difficult because of your price, even though you have the finest quality, you don't necessarily have to believe them. When I sold Patrón, it's all over the newspapers, okay, about 7.5 years ago, we were doing about 3.5 million cases a year of 12. It was sold for the highest amount ever in the history of the industry. In fact, more than 200% above what the biggest brand ever sold for. And it just goes to show that if you believe in something and your product is that good and you want to be in the reorder business, not the selling business, you don't take your eyes off of what your goal is going to be. You figure out a way to get there. And as you grow, don't be stagnate. Don't be complacent. Realize that you get so far, but if you go a lot further, why not do it? It's like Paul Mitchell. We got to 100 million a year in business and was, oh my God, we're on top of the world. We could have sold or gotten out, but no, we knew we could go a lot further. And of course we did.
Extraordinary. So, JP, you've had all these unbelievable experiences. You've coagulated them all. You've distilled down some of this knowledge. Why the book? Did you want to share these stories?
That's what happened. It was so many years that people said, JP, you've got to write a book, right? And I tried to start writing a book. It was difficult. I could write it, then I'd have to figure out grammatically how to put the words in the right spot and where in the book. So I ended up talking to a friend of mine who wrote a lot of books, Mark Victor Hansen. Chicken Soup for the Soul was his most famous, right? Unbelievable. He said, JP, between myself and a couple of writers here, let's just help you write your book. It's your own autobiography, but let's help you write it. Well, it took us a few years to do, like about 2.5 years, and we had to reread the thing. I cannot tell you how many times. We finally got it. We finally got it down. And we put it out because someone that gave up on America, well, maybe the American dream still isn't true. Maybe today, with everything going on, we can't possibly do it. Hey, the competition is so big out there, I'm not going to be able to succeed in there. It shows somebody, no matter what the economic circumstances are, no matter where your own life is. I lived in a car for a while, no matter what's going on. I don't live off $2.50 a day, no matter what's going on. If you believe in yourself and you know that America has that opportunity beyond any question of a doubt, that opportunity still to do it. Many countries don't have that opportunity, that you could still accomplish it, and even easier today than when I did it.
Amazing. JP, sometimes I feel like our friendship is like watching a Tarantino movie or Forrest Gump, right? Like it's just taken all these wild turns. But one of the things that's so amazing is like any good movie, there's these like Easter eggs buried in the movie. And I feel like sometimes talking to you, like there's these Easter eggs that you bury. Like you just said, for example, that, I was having trouble writing my book, so I reached out to a friend of mine, only the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, who sold like a bazillion copies, right? And your friend circle is extraordinary. Is that part of your strength and how you've succeeded?
I would say it's very important. And people ask me, JP, do you have a mentor? I didn't really have a mentor. But along the way, I learned from different people, different ways to do things. I wish I had a mentor, but I didn't. But I'll give you an example of what you can do if you put your mind to it. And it's in the book, How and Why. And it's already been cleared. And everyone said to me, it's okay to do, JP, put it in the book. Hey, I'm the guy that went into Libya and convinced Gaddafi to release the 2 suspected terrorists of Pan Am 103 to go on trial. I'm the guy that went into North Korea in the 1990s there to help get him into the 4-way talks for the United States. Not as an agent, not as a military person, as a civilian. Because a few people said, well, we can't get past this. Maybe JP can. Because he could talk to people. But I did it by being nice. Just being nice. And what I said to Gaddafi or what I said to Kim Jong-il's regime, it's also in the book, but by being kind in business and addressing something as just a good person, you could accomplish miracles. Be yourself and just be nice, and people feel it.
Yeah, I think this is this extraordinary attribute of entrepreneurship that we very often do not talk about.
That's true.
Incredibly overlooked. This idea that you can still win with kindness and that you can still treat people well. It's probably the biggest thing that I've learned from you. Is that part of the basis of Peace, Love, and Happiness
Definitely.
Foundation?
Beyond any
Will you tell me
question of-
about that? Because I think it'd be valuable for
Sure.
people
I
to
started
hear.
this back in 2010 when we were in a big recession. And in the Appalachian Mountains in about 7 states, there were 150 families unemployed. The coal mines were closing down, everything else. So through a friend of mine who worked for me, by the way, at the time, he said, JP, they really need help in Appalachia. All these people are on food stamps, barely making it. I said, okay, let's figure this one out. So I went ahead and made an agreement with Brea College, that's in Eastern Kentucky, and a fellow named David there who worked there as a professor gave me a helping hand on who to hire and do this. What I did was this. I started Grow Appalachia. When I started Grow Appalachia, we did this. We went into the country, right, and talked to people that were on food stamps, get them all together in a group through churches, organizations, and said, look, I will buy you all your seeds, all your fertilizer, all the tools you need, and we have volunteers here and Brea College that'll show you how to grow your own vegetables in your yard. And then how to can them for the winter. You have vegetables all year long. That was phase 1. The second year would be this. Once we teach you how to do it, you'll grow more because you know how to do it and you know how to can for the winter. But you'll be able to do more. When you do more, now you sell it to local grocery stores as organically grown local produce or to farmers markets. And then we introduced them to a dozen chickens. Now they had chickens and eggs, right? And then honey. Little by little it grew. I think today they're doing about 42,000 tons, something like that, of food that they're putting out there. And it's thousands of families have their own gardens that are going right now. So it's a matter of, and you know why we do that? We do that because there's a need. A lot of people see a need in the place, and everywhere they are, there's a need in the marketplace. There's a need at home. There's a need for humanity. There's needs. But sometimes when you're down and out, like I was so much in my life, I was homeless twice. And we won't go through that right now, but twice. But when you go through that all, and you could help somebody else out be better, just help someone else out. It's the greatest high you will ever get in your life, is doing something for somebody else and asking nothing in return. And I can assure you, there's nothing I smoked in the 1960s after the military that you could get you that high, that could ever get you that. Nothing you can smoke to get you that high. I mean, talk about a high, just like, wow, look what I did. I don't want anything in return. I'm doing God's work. And you are doing God's work when you do that. So we founded all these organizations, homeless people, unfed people, all in different places, United States, down in Thailand. We even expanded into Africa to help people have a better life because we're here. And I think that's why we're here. We're brought on this planet to learn things, but also help one another. So if I ever want an epitaph written on a tombstone, but I don't want a tombstone, I'm going to be cremated. You know, why do I want to throw old meat in the ground? Yeah. You know, I've left the body. I'm not there anymore, right? Why do I want to do that? It would be this. He came to this planet like most all of us had, with absolutely nothing when you first come out, right? But while he was here, he did things to make life better for many and the environment at the same time. And it makes you feel good doing that. If anybody ever want to remember me, that's what you remember me for. Forget the billions, forget whatever. Just, you do something good for someone else. And as long as you're a happy person, a lot of people in life aren't happy these days. They listen to the news before they leave the house. They're on social media all the time. Their purpose is created by robots on social media. They got to follow the trend. That's not you. I tell everybody, you got to find your purpose in life. You're not going to find it there. It's a robot you're talking to. And it goes through, and a robot's going to talk to the person at the other end. And you can't see the person. You can't feel where they're really coming from. You don't get the energy. You got to change those things, because life is there for us, but you got to experience things on a higher level other than agreeing with everybody else.
How do you set this virtue? How do you enforce this virtue of kindness in your organizations, right? Because people mess up, people have bad days. How do you make sure that is a value that's imbued through all of your organizations, private or public sector?
Through example, I'll give you an example through my business organizations, and whether it's a university or a military, just a group I lecture to, I tell them the same thing, okay, is you got to start with respecting your people. I've been there before where people said, do it because I'm the boss, or do it because it's my way. Well, why are we doing it that way? I have an advice. No, you do it my way, okay? Reprimanding people. Here's an interesting. You can reprimand people where they love you when they leave the room if you know how to do it. How do you reprimand people where they love you when you leave the room and they don't have covert hostility? It's very simple. You prepare before they get in there. You do it one-on-one behind closed doors, not in front of anybody else. Worst thing you could ever do. One is this. You tell them what it is they were doing that you think could be doing better. Then you tell them why it could be done better and how to do it better. A lot of people don't know what they're doing is wrong, but by saying, hey, example, Mary, when you answer the telephone, you're not smiling. People can feel a happy person at the end of the phone. Mary, you're incredible. The reason we want you to smile when you answer the phone is so people know these are nice people to be around. That's a good thing. But the third thing you prepare for, and it's the greatest thing you've ever done. Then I would say to Mary, you are one of our greatest staff members. You're one of our family. You come in on time all the time. Everybody loves you. You are so precise in everything you do. Someone as darn good as you are can easily take care of this one. This is nothing for you. In other words, they leave and you've told them what they've already done right and how much you appreciate them. It's the opposite for praise. When you praise somebody, do it loudly and in front of one person, 100 people, as many as you can. It makes them feel special because they did something great and now others know about it. They don't have to brag about it. You did it for your own staff. Let your department managers know they should be doing the same.
Yeah. When I remember my early days at the Naval Academy, which they call a leadership laboratory, they always drilled into our head, praise in public, reprimand in private.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can follow those simple rules, you're 80% better than most leader managers out there.
But add that one on. Tell them something great they're doing anyways.
Yeah. Make people feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Especially the military. My God, you can easily find, if you can't find anything, my God, do you shine your shoes really cool for inspection? Someone that does it that good can easily.
Funny, I've never heard that one for some reason. Nobody ever said that to me.
You can find something. Yeah. You can find something.
Amazing. Okay. Well, JP, we like to end the segment with a section that we call rapid fire, stream of consciousness. The best investment you ever made?
Was in my history of all the challenges I've run across, because they taught me what I know today. I could have never started these companies without the experience of the ups and downs and learning I had before.
How about the hardest financial lesson you learned?
Oh, shit. How to live for 2 years between your car, friends, places, and for the first, I think it was several months, $2.50 a day, because there was nothing there, but I didn't want to quit and go to work for someone else. I believed that our products were so darn good, if only enough salons can use it and show it on their customers, they'll want to take it home and use it at home. Those were tough days financially.
Amazing. Is there a military habit that sticks with you today?
There sure is. Packing, because on a ship, you pack everything in a box, like let's say 2 feet wide, 1.5 feet deep, and maybe 2 feet tall on an aircraft carrier, right? Everything you have is in there. So I could pack, when I travel with one suitcase and maybe an extra suit that I bring along with. That's it. I learned it was a great lesson to learn, among the other things, like, how to get a team together and achieve extraordinary results.
Amazing. And the first book people should buy is yours.
Oh, it's pre-sold right now, by the way.
It is.
The actual book is being released for the public in a couple of months, but Amazon was very excited about it. So Amazon is right now taking pre-orders for the first edition. That's a valuable edition. So you go on Amazon right now and pre-order Success, Unshared is Failure, and you'll get one of the copies of the first edition that's coming out.
Amazing. Is there another book besides your book that you would recommend to people that has shifted your mindset?
To everybody in the world. And I picked it up when I was selling encyclopedias, store to direct commission only. How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Yeah. One of the greatest books. And if you're not even in business, for your own personal life, with your family, your friends, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, one of the greatest, and I think it was written 80, 90 years ago. I'm in my 80s, and I think it was written before I was even born, but it's a great book.
Amazing. And what's the first thing that you do in the morning?
Well, first thing I do in the morning when I get up is I go, oh, and then I go into the bathroom and pee. That's the first thing I do. But after that, let me go after the first thing I do.
right.
I just want to be honest about my answer. Then I go back to bed, but I don't go to sleep. I take about 5 minutes and be here now. I'll either close my eyes and kind of be there, and our minds go a million miles an hour. So I'll open my eyes for about 5 minutes, and as my mind wanders, I look at the wall or the ceiling, like, okay, that's the ceiling, that's the wall, that's the dresser to get me here now. Or here's a blank white piece of paper. I'm only going to think about that blank white piece of paper. And it's not there. It's just an imagination to try and clear my mind. After that, then I'll go about my regular day. If I'm in the United States and Texas at home, I got to call Europe. I'll call them in the morning because it's later in the afternoon there.
Extraordinary. And how do people follow along with what you're doing? They should start with the book, which you said you can pre-order now, and it'll be available in the next couple months.
Got it. I would do this. Start with the book. If you're having challenges, reread the book. In your personal life or in your business life, the answers are in there, and how money was spent, where it was spent, how to get money when you don't have any.
Yeah, and search for those Easter eggs. I haven't read it yet. I am honored to have one of the early copies, but I'm looking for those Easter eggs in there.
First 150 out the press I brought them here. I could not wait to get one to you, but you can take pre-orders on now, and it'll be delivered in a few months. Absolutely. And I recommend that people do because it's the first edition, which is very, very good. And it's a hard copy. I think it's like $20 or something like that.
Amazing. Now, I hope in some future podcast somewhere, when somebody's asked about a book that was inspirational to them, I hope they say this. I believe that is a high probability event, as we say.
That it is, sir.
Yeah. Well, JP, thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored that you would share your wisdom with me. It's an honor to call you a friend. You know, before we were friends, and somebody was talking to me about you, they said this thing that I've never forgotten. They said, "Oh, JP, yeah, he walks light upon the earth." And I thought it was the most beautiful compliment I had ever heard. But I also was like, you know, people say nice things about billionaires all the time, you know? And then I met you and I found it to be absolutely extraordinarily true.
Gotta be kind.
Yeah.
Got to be kind.
Yeah.
It's really a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you,
my pleasure,
friend.
sir. You betcha.
Yeah.
You betcha, sir.
To our audience, JP has really set the standard for success in business while still maintaining the ethos of kindness and compassion. I hope you were taking notes, but more importantly, I hope you're taking action. All right, thanks for locking in with us today. Shout out to Siebert.Bauer and Siebert Financial for supporting our journey. We'll be back next week with another powerhouse conversation. More founders, more builders, and leaders who are playing offense in life and in business. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel for exclusive content and extended cuts of your favorite episodes. Until next week, stay tactical, stay driven.